If you're anything like us, you're really excited to see a mosasaur depicted on the big screen in a summer blockbuster. But we nerds have a couple issues with the way that Jurassic World presents it.
That means that tail dragging and casting Chris Pratt aren't the only mistakes they made. If you've seen the trailers, you know that the mosasaur they've got in Jurassic World is huge. It's big enough to swallow a great white shark whole. This is what a real mosasaurus looks like.
This is Wally. We dug him up last year in western Kansas. This is a pretty big mosasaur.
A mosasaurus is basically like a great big water lizard.
Exactly. It's a Komodo dragon, but instead of legs, it's got flippers, and it's got a long tail on it and lots of teeth. I mean, they had to make it really big to swallow a great white because these animals swallowed their prey whole. You know, it's got all these teeth, including the ones on the roof of its mouth, and those were designed to get the prey worked down the throat in one piece.
And I did see those pterygoid teeth on the back of the throat on the trailer.
Right.
They are there. They got that right, which is cool. It boggles the mind how big they made that thing, and I understand that this is like a movie monster that they have, but it still kind of bugs me that they have to make it that big. I mean, what I saw on the trailer, it's like as big as a blue whale, maybe bigger.
Yeah, mosasaurs definitely did not get that size.
Still big enough to be scary.
One of the things that they really got wrong is the frill on the mosasaur.
Okay, talk about that. Because like, I have never seen a frill on a mosasaur. Where does this come from?
Well, that's because you've read books that have been published within the past 90 years. Way back in the late 1800s, they found some mosasaur specimens with bits of soft tissue that were preserved with them too. Those had kind of dislodged and came to the top of the specimen that was preserved, and it made it look like it had a mane or a frill sort of thing. Unfortunately, the people from Jurassic World had decided that these illustrations that were done in the late 19th century and early 20th century were gospel and kind of perpetuated that myth. So in the movie trailer, they show the mosasaur opening its mouth, and it's got a big single-lobed tongue like ours.
And that's not how they work. Recent evidence has shown that mosasaurs, just like modern monitor lizards that they're very closely related to, had forked tongues.
They could smell in stereo. So we don't have fossilized tongues of mosasaurs. They're just not preserved. So we can't actually look at a mosasaur tongue and know that they're forked. However, we have other lines of evidence that show us that, yes, indeed, these things had forked tongues. Now, in the roof of the mouth, snakes, a lot of lizards have these things called Jacobson's organs. And what they are basically...
It's a two-lobed sensing organ that works like a smell sense.
Right. And for them to come through the roof of the mouth, there's got to be holes in the roof of the mouth for them to protrude through. And we actually have those preserved in these mosasaurs. You can actually see where the Jacobson's organ would have been.
That means that we know that it had the Jacobson's organ, and in order for the Jacobson's organ to operate, it had to have that bifurcated, forked tongue in order to be able to smell in stereo. One of the coolest things that we see in these big mosasaurs is evidence of what we call snout wrestling.
Yeah, these things would actually find other mosasaurs their size or even bigger. I mean, this is a huge animal, and it's got marks from snout wrestling all over the skull.
So snout wrestling, like where other mosasaurs have bitten it?
Right, and these things are puncture wounds from the teeth of other mosasaurs all across the face of these animals, and they're healed. They survived the incident, so it wasn't just an attack.
So mosasaurs were big, mean water lizards that bit each other on the face.
Right, and something was swimming through the water, saw this other giant mosasaur out there and said, hey, that looks like a thing I want to mess with. So why they did it, we're not quite sure. We're not sure if they were really territorial or if there's something to do with mating. Either they were really, really bad at it,
or they were really good at it.
Combined, Jacob and I have over 30 years of experience working on mosasaurs.
We've been in the field and collected dozens of these skeletons over the years, so despite all the complaining, we're still pretty excited to see a mosasaur on Jurassic World, so I know I'm going to be there in the theater watching this movie.
I mean, that sounds like a really silly thing for people to be, concerned about for accuracy's sake.
But we're nerds and we nitpick.